Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, we need to do a deeper dive on TRI-BRIGADE Roar. This is a brand new card that was revealed a couple weeks ago. Really, all we've talked about on the channel, as far as this card is concerned, is just like the straight up, like, super new, like, pretty much like a reaction video to this card getting revealed. I do think it deserves way more of a conversation because it has some very generic application to almost any deck, really, that isn't afraid to just, allocate some extra deck slots to it. But other than that, has some really cool utility where it can be an engine piece depending on the deck you're playing. It can be a generic interruption card / going second card as well. We'll get into that as we go, though. But before we do anything, we need to read over this card and give it, reacquaint ourselves with what this card actually does. If you control a link monster, you can send one TRI-BRIGADE card from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. Then target one effect monster on the field. Apply this effect based on the type of card you sent. If you send a monster, you change the targeted monster's attack to 0 until the end of this turn. So it's a battle trap. If you sent a spell, negate the targeted monster's effects until the end of this turn. It's a Forbidden Chalice. Or if you send a trap, you can return the targeted monster straight to the hand. Or it's just a straight up compulsory evacuation device in the form of a quick play spell. All three of these effects are actually respectable in their own right. You would argue, most people will obviously argue that the monster effect is the worst one of the three, but inherently being able to foolish as cost any TRI-BRIGADE monster from deck or extra deck is way better value than like what you're getting from sending a spell or trap. So even though their resolution effects are better, the send from the monster side of it is way better in that regard. So very, very cool. Three very good effects. And we will get into most of the targets here. So we need to start off with the monster targets. What makes the most sense here? I've literally gone through pretty much everything you would even consider doing for the monster. Well, pretty much just all send targets for this card. First and foremost, we have this new card called, it's like TRI-BRIGADE something Bucephalus II. This card's really crazy. And by crazy, I mean it actually sucks ass until this card got revealed, funny enough. Really the only relevant effect for this card as far as TRI-BRIGADE Roar is this card says if it's sent to the graveyard generically, you can send any other Beast Warrior or Wing Beast monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. So normally TRI-BRIGADE Roar lets you send any TRI-BRIGADE, but if you send this guy, it essentially allows Roar to send any Tri-Beast type extra deck monster as well. There's a couple of other neat applications because of this card we'll get into. The rest of the basic TRI-BRIGADE package, of course, is sending Bear Brum. This actually does matter for TRI-BRIGADE lists. A lot of people recognize that Revolt is the most threatening card or end board piece that a lot of TRI-BRIGADE decks do. So a lot of people may even try to focus on keeping Bear Brum from resolving and getting that spell or trap search. So maybe cutting them off at certain points so they don't get to Bear Brum. Whereas with this card, it gives us another outlet to just be able to send Bear Brum straight from the deck. Or the extra deck, and then trigger its effect to get a spell or trap search. So, pretty cool there. Ferrojeet, I don't think Ferrojeet's very good here, but it's worth noting. Put a card back, draw a card. Not bad. Helps you fix your hand, potentially. Maybe you had a brick that is important to the rest of the combo, or for whatever deck you're playing. Lets you put something back while also drawing. Fix your hand a little bit. Could come up. And then Shiraig. Shiraig is interesting because as a starter early on in your play, it's not as relevant. But if you've already gotten multiple things banished or anything, getting him sent mid to late game could be really, really good because you're just going to be able to search any Beast Warrior or Wing Beast with a level that is equal to or lower than the amount of banished Tri-Beasts you have. So very cool. That could definitely come up as well. Those are the more pure TRI-BRIGADE mentions. Into a couple of other things. Brigand is another one. This is a beast, so you would have to package this with Bucephalus to send it, but on end phase it summons any TRI-BRIGADE or Albaz straight out of the deck. Not super relevant. TRI-BRIGADEs don't offer a ton of value on the field, but I don't know, maybe down the line if we got a new main deck TRI-BRIGADE that like is a straight up interruption on the field, like a main deck boss monster almost, like that would be more interesting here, but I don't know, could come up. There's synergy at the very least. Lindworm, another new card. This card's interesting. It says if it's in the graveyard and Fallen of Albaz is in your grave, it can just during your opponent's turn as a quick effect, like banish itself to summon the Albaz back, which obviously would give you like that super poly effect on the opponent's turn. It's pretty cool, but it kind of requires you to be playing an Albaz deck and have him engraved to be live. So, you know, there's synergy, but it kind of requires even more stuff as well. And then the most important one, honestly, for like probably the purposes of this video, is Garura. It's a wing beast, so like obviously you send Bucephalus, then Bucephalus sends Garura. Garura then draws you a card. This spell card, this Tri-Brigade Roar, if you just put these 2 cards in your extra deck, is just Upstart Goblin at the bare minimum. We'll get to some other stuff too where it actually gets added utility as well, just naturally, even with just this bare minimum package. Very, very interesting to note though. Just get a redraw. Moving on, couple main deck things. These are really the only main deck monsters that really matter. It's obviously Kit and Nerval. They're the only Tri-Brigades that like trigger any effect when they're sent to grave. It's pretty good, you know. Just send a Kit, send a Nerval, add off of Nerval. You've already got multiple Tri-Beasts set up in grave, and you haven't even committed to the field. I know, well, okay, the one drawback we really haven't, like, I guess I haven't mentioned super thoroughly, you do have to have a link monster on the field, and that's really, to me, the biggest drawback of this card is, like, you can't just fire it immediately. You have to be able to at least get to a link monster, bare minimum. But I think in the grand scheme of things, that's a pretty easy ask for most decks, get to any link monster. So I think we'll take it. I don't think it's too bad at the end of the day. But, yep, worth mentioning. Now we get to the spells. And what's really interesting is I have Tri-Brigade Roar here as the first spell and the most important spell, because if you read through the text of this card, if we go back, this card says, send a Tri-Brigade card. Notice there's no text saying here except Tri-Brigade Roar. So just by playing multiple copies of Roar, you could just send the second copy of Roar, negate a monster's effect. So if you want that Forbidden Chalice-like effect, Impermanence-like effect, you just send another copy of Roar. You don't even have to worry about trying to splash in any other cards into your any additional Tri-Brigade package cards into the deck, and like this card still inherently keeps that Forbidden Chalice effect live almost at all times. So worst case scenario, this card is just essentially imperm. Going second, you can't fire it on the opponent's turn, but it's Chalice, I guess. We'll just call it Chalice, I guess, is a better call, which is still pretty solid if that's like kind of like your backup plan. You know what? Worst case scenario, it's a Chalice. That's really cool. This card kind of just power creeps Chalice. All right, moving on, you have Rendezvous. This was a card that was played in Bird Up a while ago, a couple of years ago when Bird Up was like top of the metagame. This card engraved just can pretty much banish itself if a linked Tri-Beast would be destroyed by battle or card effect. It just made your boards a little bit stronger in Tri-Beast decks. It was cool. Like, this could come up. I don't know. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but to be fair, I'd rather keep consistency at a maximum. Pretty much just send this card if I have the option. It's also worth mentioning that Airborne Assault, I never thought was like a bad card. It seems like a decent extender. It just felt like we never had the right archetype combining with Tri-Brigade to really abuse Airborne Assault. But I felt like there was a world where down the line we could have something where Airborne Assault actually makes a lot of sense. It's just another spell that you could send for it. There's no effect engrave or anything, but it's there. And then for the trap, it's Tri-Brigade Oath. This is really all that's worth mentioning here. This also saw a little bit of play at certain points in Tri-Brigade's history when it was a meta deck, because if you have a Beast, Beast Warrior, and Wing Beast, all three on the field, and this card's in your grave, it's just a spell or trap negate, which is actually really good because for all the good that Tri-Brigade did and the powerful boards it would set up, it wouldn't set up a ton of negation normally, especially spell and trap negation. You might have an Appaloosa, but not spell and trap negation. And so if somebody had a board wipe, whatever, a board breaker in the form of a spell or trap, evenly matched, lightning storm, stuff like that, the deck didn't really have much to repel those things. And so Oath was a really cool in-archetype way. So that is some value you could get by sending a trap. Other than this card, it's just Revolt, but normally you don't really want to send Revolt because most Tri-Brigade decks only play one, and the deck doesn't have an inherent way to like add it back as far as I am concerned. So as far as I know, off the top of my head, so you don't really want to send that, but it gets the Compulse effect. You could argue that as far as those resolution effects for this card, the Compulse is the most powerful one straight up. It's better than a negate, it's better than making something 0, and then Oath gives you some value. and also down the line, you never know if they're going to give us new monsters, new spells, new traps that have more value engraved, because honestly, anything we get could make this card even better than it already is in specifically TRI-BRIGADE decks. But yeah, that's it for all the main targets. I mean, we kind of end up here circling back around to this card saying, I just think the generic value, even aside from just playing it in actual TRI-BRIGADE decks where I think this could be really cool. Like, even if the sprite ending gets like decimated, I could see TRI-BRIGADE just going a super pure route potentially, where you focus more on a card like where you play 3 of this card, you play, you know, obviously all the TRI-BRIGADE stuff, and you're able to get away with playing like 1 Oath, and, you know, you've got really good value off of sending a monster spell or traps. The versatility is out the asshole on this card. This is really, really a cool card. I love it through and through, just the way it's designed. It's not too broken, but I love how flexible it can be in its own archetype, and even as a generic card, it even has some splashability. We've only got Upstart at 1, but if you're playing a deck that isn't afraid to play, like, you know, allocate a couple extra deck slots, this card, it can just be Upstart, or it's just by itself already a Forbidden Chalice anyway. That's still worth it, you know? Like a year ago, we were like, people were straight up just playing Chalice. Why would you not just play this card instead? And then you also could have the bonus of, if you don't need the Chalice effect, I need to draw a card. I need to find my engine. Cool. Works. I don't know. Seems like a pretty good card to me, through and through. That's most of the applications that I've seen with it. If there's anything I missed, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, or just your general thoughts on this card overall as it pertains to something more connected to TRI-BRIGADE or Tri-Beast based decks, or even as it pertains to a generic deck where, you know, is your favorite deck. Would you ever look at this card and consider it? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on that as well. But I'm out of here for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, as always. If you want to see more discussion videos like this, talking about new, exciting packages, cards, I did this video, did the Z-Arc video. Not as much editing. I haven't had as much time to put as much editing into this as I did the Z-Arc video. But, you know, still really excited about this card. Can't wait to mess around with it. But I'm out of here for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.